Turkey was struck by disaster on Sunday evening as a powerful magnitude 6.1 earthquake rocked the northwestern province of Balikesir.
One person has died and several others have sustained injuries after a strong earthquake of magnitude 6.1 struck Turkey. Now, according to Minister Ali Yerlikaya, a total of 16 buildings collapsed and 29 people were injured in the earthquake. Also, an 81-year-old woman passed away shortly after she was pulled out from the rubble in the town of Sindirgi. He also added that search and rescue operations have now concluded and there were no other signs of serious damage or casualties.
Leaving destruction in its wake, the devastating tremor has already claimed lives and left dozens injured, with rescue teams working through the night to search through the rubble of collapsed buildings. This latest seismic event serves as yet another stark reminder of Turkey's vulnerability to earthquakes and the urgent need for continued preparedness. The earthquake struck at p.m. local time, centered in Balikesir province with its epicenter located near the town of Sindirgi. What made this event particularly alarming was not just its intensity, but
according to the Turkish Disaster Management Agency, the epicenter of the earthquake was Balikesir province and the quake hit at 7:53 p.m. local time with a 4.6 magnitude aftershock following several minutes later. Reports also suggest that the quake was felt across several cities in the west of the country, including Istanbul and the tourist hotspot Izmir.
How widely its effects were felt across northwestern Turkey. The tremor rippled outward from its epicenter, reaching major population centers including the tourist destination of Izmir and even Turkey's largest city, Istanbul, where residents more than 200 kilometers away reported feeling the ground shake beneath them. For a metropolis of 16 million people that sits precariously on major fault lines, any seismic activity serves as a chilling reminder of the potential catastrophe that could strike at any moment. The human toll of this disaster began to emerge as emergency teams rushed to the affected areas. Among the victims was an 81-year-old woman in Sindirgi who was initially pulled from the rubble alive but tragically succumbed to her injuries shortly after rescue. In total, 29 people were wounded in the disaster, with many requiring immediate medical attention. The physical destruction tells an equally dramatic story, with 16 buildings collapsing as a result of the earthquake's force. While many of these structures were reportedly derelict or unused, which may have prevented an even higher casualty count, their collapse demonstrates the ongoing vulnerability of Turkey's building stock to seismic events. Search and rescue operations were conducted swiftly and efficiently, with authorities confirming by Monday that all operations had concluded with no additional serious damage or casualties found beyond those initially reported. Remarkably, critical infrastructure, including electricity and water services, remained largely uninterrupted throughout the affected areas, suggesting that some lessons from previous disasters have been successfully implemented. The earthquake was followed by a series of aftershocks that continued to rattle the region, including a significant 4.6 magnitude aftershock that kept residents on edge. Turkish disaster management authorities urged citizens to stay away from damaged buildings, recognizing the continued danger posed by weakened structures and the possibility of additional tremors. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan quickly issued a statement expressing his concern for the affected citizens and confirming that rescue operations were being closely monitored. Writing on social media, he wished a swift recovery to those affected and prayed for God's protection of the country from future disasters. It's a sentiment that resonates deeply in a nation where earthquakes are not just geological events, but recurring nightmares that have shaped the national consciousness. To understand the significance of this latest earthquake, we need to examine Turkey's position as one of the world's most seismically active regions. The country sits on top of multiple major fault lines, making earthquakes a frequent and devastating reality. The North Anatolian Fault, which runs across northern Turkey, and the East Anatolian Fault in the southeast, create a complex web of tectonic activity that puts millions of lives at risk. Balikesir province itself lies within one of Turkey's highest seismic hazard zones. According to the Turkish seismic hazard map, the province falls in the first-degree risk category, experiencing more than 90 earthquakes of magnitude 2.5 or higher annually. This isn't just recent geological activity. The region has a long and tragic history of destructive earthquakes. Historically, Balikesir has been the epicenter of multiple catastrophic events. The 1898 Balikesir earthquake, with a magnitude of 7.0, killed around 500 people and virtually destroyed the entire city. The 1919 Ivalik earthquake, also magnitude 7.0, claimed approximately 3,000 lives. In 1944, the Gulf of Edremit-Ivachik earthquake, measuring 6.7, caused 73 deaths and even triggered a local tsunami. Perhaps most devastating was the 1953 Yenis-Gonin earthquake with magnitude 7.5, which killed more than 1,000 people. Paleoseismological studies reveal that local fault systems, such as the Havran-Balikesir fault zone, are capable of producing earthquakes up to magnitude 7.2, with recurrence intervals estimated at 1,000 to 2,000 years. Seismologists note that some sections may currently represent seismic gaps, potentially increasing long-term hazard potential for the region. But it's the recent memory of catastrophic earthquakes that makes every tremor in Turkey feel like a harbinger of something worse. In February 2023, twin earthquakes with magnitudes of 7.8 devastated Turkey's southern and southeastern provinces, killing more than 53,000 people in Turkey alone. Another 6,000 people died in neighboring Syria, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in the region's modern history. The 2023 earthquakes exposed critical weaknesses in Turkey's building standards and emergency preparedness. Hundreds of thousands of buildings were destroyed or damaged across 11 provinces, with many structures that should have been earthquake-resistant collapsing like houses of cards. The disaster raised serious questions about construction quality, building codes, and the enforcement of safety regulations. Experts have consistently warned that millions of people in Turkey still live in buildings that are not earthquake-proof. Despite building code improvements following previous disasters, the rapid pace of urbanization and sometimes lax enforcement of construction standards continue to put lives at risk. Istanbul, in particular, remains a major concern for seismologists, with its massive population and mix of old and new construction. The Sunday earthquake in Balikesir serves as another wake-up call about Turkey's seismic vulnerability. While the death toll was thankfully limited compared to previous disasters, the collapse of 16 buildings demonstrates how quickly earthquake damage can escalate. The fact that most collapsed structures were derelict suggests that newer, properly constructed buildings may be better able to withstand seismic forces. But it also highlights the ongoing danger posed by older, potentially unsafe structures throughout the country. International monitoring agencies were quick to assess the earthquake's impact. The United States Geological Survey issued a yellow alert for shaking-related fatalities and economic losses, indicating that some casualties and damage were possible, but that the impact should be relatively localized. An estimated 13,000 people were thought to have felt severe shaking, with 37,000 experiencing very strong shaking, 178,000 strong shaking, and 770,000 moderate shaking. The response from Turkish authorities appears to have been swift and well coordinated, a marked improvement from some previous disasters. Emergency teams were quickly deployed to the affected areas, rescue operations were conducted efficiently, and communication with the public was clear and timely. This suggests that lessons learned from previous earthquakes have led to improvements in disaster response capabilities. However, the broader challenge remains. How does a country sitting on some of the world's most active fault lines protect its 84 million citizens from the inevitable next major earthquake? The answer involves multiple approaches, from improving building codes and construction practices to enhancing early warning systems and emergency response capabilities. Turkey has made significant investments in earthquake monitoring and early warning systems in recent years. The country operates a network of seismological stations that can detect earthquake activity and potentially provide precious seconds or minutes of warning before the strongest shaking arrives. While this may not prevent damage, it can give people time to take protective actions and automatically shut down critical systems like gas, lines, and elevators. The construction industry has also seen reforms aimed at improving earthquake resistance. New building codes require stronger construction methods and materials, while existing structures are supposed to undergo seismic retrofitting to bring them up to modern standards. However, the scale of this challenge is enormous, particularly in a rapidly growing country where millions of buildings were constructed before modern earthquake standards were implemented. Urban planning has also become a critical component of earthquake preparedness. Cities are being designed or redesigned with earthquake risk in mind, including wider streets for emergency access, designated emergency assembly areas, and restrictions on construction in the most high-risk zones. Istanbul has been particularly active in this regard, given its massive population and proximity to major fault lines. Public education and preparedness campaigns have been expanded to teach citizens what to do before, during, and after an earthquake. School children practice earthquake drills, and public awareness campaigns emphasize the importance of emergency preparedness kits, family emergency plans, and safe behavior during seismic events. The economic implications of Turkey's earthquake risk cannot be ignored. The 2023 earthquakes caused estimated damages of over $100 billion, devastating the affected region's economies and requiring massive reconstruction efforts. Insurance systems are being strengthened to help spread the financial risk of future earthquakes, while building standards are being enforced more rigorously to prevent the kind of catastrophic collapses that occurred in 2023. International cooperation has also become increasingly important. Turkey works with seismological organizations worldwide to share data and best practices for earthquake monitoring and response. The country participates in international disaster response exercises and has mutual aid agreements with neighboring countries and international organizations. Looking ahead, the Sunday earthquake in Balikesir serves as both a reminder of Turkey's ongoing vulnerability and a test of the country's improved disaster response capabilities. While the relatively low casualty count and effective emergency response are encouraging, the collapse of multiple buildings demonstrates that much work remains to be done to protect Turkish communities from seismic disasters. The earthquake also highlights the interconnected nature of seismic risk in the region. When tremors are felt as far away as Istanbul, it reminds us that a major earthquake anywhere in northwestern Turkey could have cascading effects across the region. The proximity to Istanbul, with its massive population and economic importance, makes every earthquake in the area a matter of national concern. As Turkey continues to grapple with its seismic reality, the lessons from each earthquake, including this latest one in Balikesir, contribute to the country's growing understanding of how to live with and prepare for the inevitable next major tremor. The challenge is enormous, but so is the determination to protect Turkish lives and communities from the Earth's relentless movement beneath their feet. The Sunday earthquake may have been relatively small in the context of Turkey's seismic history, but it serves as a crucial reminder that in a country where the Earth can move without warning, preparedness isn't just an option, it's a matter of survival. As rescue operations conclude and the immediate crisis passes, the real work begins, continuing to build a more earthquake-resilient Turkey, one building, one community, and one preparedness plan at a time.